So the bus is back again, and today we're going to do something a little different and stand it up in a way that I have never done before, never seen done. I'm sure someone's done it at some point. This isn't anything like new that I've come up with, but it's something new to me, so I want to try it. We are going to use 2 winch lines off the Zack lift here to perform 3 different functions, which is a spike down off the front end, a lift off the high side, and a catch to set it down easy. When we flipped this thing over before, we did the spike and the lift and then let it fall to its wheels, which is kind of a violent, shaky way of doing it. No big deal with this, no danger of it flipping the rest of the way over, but ideally you can catch a vehicle when you're rolling it, set it down nice and smooth. We're going to try doing that today with only 2 winch lines, performing all 3 functions, and see how it goes. So what we've got set up here is a single lane rollover situation where, say, this is the road right here, this is one lane, the other lane comes back right here, and the vehicle that we're recovering got off the side, flipped over on the shoulder. Now we want to flip it back over into the lane it's supposed to be on, right behind the wrecker, without getting anything into the oncoming lane, which would allow traffic to keep flowing while we do the recovery. We would always want to stop all the traffic as this is coming over in case rigging breaks loose or something weird happens. We don't have anything go over there, but that would allow everything to remain open for at least one-way traffic while rigging is being set up. Then the hook up, the tow away, and all that's happening. We're not blocking this for any more than we have to. Now, as I said in the previous video where we did this without catching it, yeah, we could put that boom all the way up in the air, run a line all the way over there to the high side and just pull it over. But then we risk, with that big lever on top of our tow truck, flipping our truck over instead of standing this one up. And since doing this would also get the heel of the boom out of the cradle that supports it side to side, that's also one big giant lever on the pivot pin down there, so we don't want to side load that boom. And we can solve both of those issues by taking our second line, coming over here to the outrigger down at the bottom, and then coming up to this rim right here, pulling down on this rim, which helps pivot this bus up, and putting most of our pulling force on that and only a little bit over there pulling it up. That means that second line is actually pulling this way on the boom, and since it's pulling harder than the line over there that's pulling that way, it helps hold that boom pretty well centered. It also takes a huge amount of the stress that's trying to roll my truck over off of that boom that's going to be way up in the air and putting a lot of our force down on that outrigger lifting up. But like I said, since we only have the 2 winches, if one of them's doing the spike, which is what this is called, and one of them's doing the lift, which is what that line over there is called, that leaves nothing to catch it and set it down so nice and easy. Unless we get creative with some snatch blocks, which is what we're going to do today. And as you can see, we're on a slope right here, which is going to make this one roll off that way, but we're also going to be pulling from in front of it, so the lines going to be going back to it want to make it roll this way. That should kind of counteract each other out, but we also don't want this thing to be able to move and go anywhere. And since we got the drive shaft pulled out of it and the parking brake is right there on the drive shaft that goes through this thing, we lost our parking brake as well, which even if we had the parking brake, we would still have to immobilize these wheels, because with an open differential, if the drive shaft is stopped, one wheel could turn this way, the other wheel set could turn that way, and it could still roll away. So what I do is I chain through the wheels to somewhere on the bottom of the vehicle, and that locks the wheels in place. Now they can't roll. And since most of our force is going to be up here on the front end, I do the same to the front as well. That high side one there isn't totally necessary, but we were doing some other flipping this thing other which ways a couple days ago, so I had both of them chained. And now since most of the force that's actually going to stand this bus up is going to be pulling down on this front axle that way to that outrigger, we don't want to rip this front suspension apart when we're doing that, so we take a chain and we go around the axle and spring here, and we go back through there, and we go around the actual frame rail itself. It can stay loose like this. As soon as we start pulling on that, that chain's going to catch tight and transfer all that load straight to the frame rail, not on the suspension right here. Then when this thing lands on its wheels and all that weight compresses that suspension, we'll be able to take that chain right back off. So I'm going to get the Zack lift fired up. I'm going to start running some line out here, and we got, I think, 3 snatch blocks is what it's going to take to do all the rigging I need to do to make 2 lines, do the work of 3. We're going to see how it goes. All right, let's get to work on this thing. First thing we're going to do, we're going to drop our outriggers down, and depending on how the angles look, once we get going on this, I might even counter lean the truck over a little that way just to help with stability. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, since we're going to be catching as well off that side, I might not do that. So we're going to not pre-spool our winches because I don't have air going to the unit. And the door's locked. Other side. The free spool on the winches is operated by air valves up there, so Now they should be free spooled. Yep, we're on free spool here. So we're gonna get our underreach out of the way. Then we're gonna run our boom out. We're gonna need all the boom for this one. But what I do is I free spool and I let the boom go out and just free spool out, because I have these fancy Zaclift quick back hooks right here that you can get. Zaclift will sell those for any model of record. Doesn't have to be a Zaclift one. And then when you're ready to pop your hooks free, instead of going up there and unhooking them and all that stuff, you just lock your free spool, boom out, and there's your hooks. And then I run the boom all the way out, and we're gonna fold this underreach back up out of the way. Did I time it right? I did. Right at full extension, they pulled back in. Okay, so we're gonna drop this down and fold our underreach back up. Now, 2 goals today. Last time we stood this bus up in a single lane rollover situation, we accomplished one of the goals, which was not flopping our own truck over in the process. But we failed at goal number 2, which is no life-threatening injuries. And if you saw that video, you know what happened to me, which is why I'm mentioning that on this one. But we're gonna try not to repeat that. I have to look at the controls when I'm doing it by hand. I know the remote like perfectly, but I never use the hand controls, so we need to get to those tie-back points up there is why I'm doing this. So I can reach that. All right, we need 3 snatch blocks, and all 3 should be in here. There they are. One day there will be different boxes that make a lot more sense for this, because this is not like ideal. Okay, so we are gonna need, if I'm thinking about this right, the snatch block here, one up there. Wait, is that all we're gonna need is 2? Maybe. One here. That's the 3rd. And this one right here, which is going to go on that, which means we're going to need 2 shackles. So we're going to use this shackle. These are both, this is an 8.5. This is a 10-ton. We'll use 10-ton there. We'll put the 8.5 up in here. That sun's probably right on the lens, causing a bunch of lens flare, isn't it? Okay, shackle bottom down. And now we take our hook up here. Oh, come on. There we go. So we're going to open this up, and then we're going to mount this one down here. Oh, I need the bigger shackle for that, because that diameter, that foot's so big. That'll be this one. Notice the yellow paint that's already on it from being hooked to these same tie-back points. So the smaller shackles, because this is so big, don't leave enough distance from that to here for this hook to properly seat in there. And we don't want any binding or anything like that, so. I think when I'm done, I'm going to spray all this stuff with a good coating of WD-40, because The winter is finally coming to an end, and this muddy season is finally getting over with. So we want to run our blue line over here. And yes, this is Yankum Ropes synthetic winch line, and it works amazingly well, and it is far tougher than people think when they think of synthetic. And it's, you know what, I'll just show you. Hold on, I'll be right back. If we walk over here to my rollback, which I was using the other day to flip that bus over in the first place so that the wrecker could stand it back up, and then just yanking it back over with the rollback to stand it up a different way and doing a bunch of stuff, you could see what happened to my sheave head here and how it is mangled. This steel is just tacoed. And what happened is, this is supposed to sit down like this. Well, let's be straight. And then when you pull to the side, this swivels and off it goes. And for some reason, just the way it worked, it didn't swivel. This was stuck out like that. And the winch line here, which this is also Yankum line, this is 5/8 line, was going, it was down in there like it's supposed to be. And then out the end here, it was pulling hard around that edge like that. And when this didn't swivel, it just totally demolished this thing and folded it in. And I was looking over at the bus, so I didn't see it this happened. And I just kept on winching and winching this right around that edge at a 90-degree angle. And it was also pinched, as you can see in there. And it was getting this whole snaky thing in here. And the rope is fine. It didn't hurt the rope. The most mark on the whole thing is going to be right here. You see little fluff of stuff? That is nothing. All this line here went through that and pulled around that 90-degree edge like that with no damage. So if anybody tells you that synthetic, yeah, it's cool and it's strong in a straight line, but if it ever touches anything sharp, it just blows apart, they're wrong. Yeah, while being pulled around a 90-degree edge of steel, it destroyed the steel. So that's going to go up there, and it's going to be our downward pull. I wonder if I want a shorter one, because I know we'll probably do that. And then this one is going to go down here around our window post. So that will go there. Now, because this is a bus, all this structure here of this roof and these windows are plenty strong enough to hook to and pull on to upright this thing. And if this was not a bus, you didn't have that, I'd have to go all the way under and grab the frame on the other side. And as proven in a previous video that you saw, it does not matter one freaking bit whether you grab the bottom frame rail, the top frame rail, anything like that. It doesn't change a thing. There's some other people, including manufacturers, and worst of all, one of the big training companies that says it does, and they're quite simply wrong. So this now needs to go through here, and this is where the life-threatening injury happened last time, so we're not going to repeat that. Okay, so we're going to feed that down. Actually, I need a third rim sling. I'll grab the one off the rollback to be the catch. So we're going to feed this through here. Okay, that's actually going to be our catch. Let me go grab the other one. Okay, got the other one, and we're going to want to go opposite of that one right there. So we'll just stick this up through here and see if it gets lucky and falls back towards us and we don't have to climb back up there. Not gonna do it. Okay. Perfect. Now, we take third snatch block. And it's gonna go right here. We need 4 snatch blocks. Yep, we need 4. I need 1 more. Because we have to come back to make our spike. And we'll lock this one down. And then that's gonna go there. This will go back to there. But what we can do now, so we can get the boom out of our way to do that, is go like this. And yes, it seems like I'm trying to figure this out as I go and I don't know what I'm doing, because I am quite literally trying to figure this out as I go and don't know what I'm doing. Like I said, that's why we're trying it out in the yard and not out on an actual job on the side of the road. It's called practice. And this one we are going to put in this hole. And this shackle will work here because this piece is not so thick like it is on the tie-back point down there. Okay. All right. We can go ahead and hook this line to our catch sling up here, which is this one. And that's just going to rest right there. And then this side is going to go here. Like, you imagine fighting all this with steel cable that's trying to coil itself back up because it's sprung from sitting on the winch drum. No thanks. Okay. Now this line is going to go over here. Like, the fact that I'm pulling this through all 4 snatch blocks this easily never happened with steel cable. That is going to go up and around, just not yet. Okay, we're ready to put this up, and we're also going to run this out, and then we'll explain what is happening here and how I think this is going to work. Keyword, think this is going to work. I've never tried this before. The winches are all still in free spool, so none of that matters. My only concern is those sheave heads interfering with each other at that angle, which I think they're going to. I might have to swap and make the other line do what these are doing, and pretty sure we're about to see. So now this can come around here. Just move this to get off of that line right there, which I think it will. And the other question is, do we want to put a chain right here so that we're not pulling the rope on this, which we do. So I'm going to pause you, replace that section with a piece of chain so that our line doesn't start till it's up there. This is smooth, I don't think it's going to hurt it, but also might move over one post down here. But what I can do for right now to see if this is going to work is lock in my yellow. Oh, the sun's right on that. And see if those sheave heads will interfere. Nope, they're gonna just miss each other. Okay, that's good. So we don't have to re-rig everything. Good. Okay. Be right back. All right, so we are fully rigged and lines tensioned. What I didn't show when I went and got that chain for the other side is I did swap the lines, and now those two sheave heads are totally opposite directions, not going to interfere with each other. That one is not hitting the underreach there. There is a gap there. It might be hard to see, but it's not touching. We moved our hook point one window back right here, so it's going to pull up the side of the bus without trying to pull off the front of it like we were right here. And then we got this chain that goes just past the top of the bus so that our synthetic line and hook are not pulling around the side of it. And how this is all going to work is our yellow line is going to come down to that snatch block, up to the rim sling right here, back to the truck. Now that's spiking the front end down, but then it's going to continue back up to that snatch block hung off the side point there, and then that one goes all the way over the top. So that one winch is pulling down as our spike and is our lift. Remember what I said is we don't want to pull the truck over or side load the boom. Now if we look, that line that's doing all of that pulling is going off to the side over here to that outrigger. And now since this is doubled back and that up there is only singled, we should have, in theory, twice as much pulling force here as we have lifting over there, meaning 2/3 of the force being pulled on that boom is going to be coming at this angle. Now that is a much greater angle than 2 times this angle, so it still is going to be pulling that way a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to be an issue. We'll just watch it real close and see. Then our blue line over here comes down to another rim sling on the opposite side of the same rim, and that is going to be our catch, so that when this comes over and gets to its tipping point, we're going to keep that really tight, and then that will eventually take the load from these two, and then that's the one that'll set it down right here behind our truck, hopefully. Put your comments down below. Do you think this is going to work, and does all this make sense to you? And while you do that, I'm going to go get someone very special to help give their thoughts on this and watch the show here if I screw it up. If everyone asks where Grumpy is, he's right here.
Right here.
So here's what I got going on, Grumpy. Yellow line comes down through the snatch block to the rim, back to the truck. That's going to be our spike to pull down on that. But then it also goes up to the one hanging off the side up there, and way over to the far side of the bus to also be our lift. Since we're single lined on our lift and we're double lined on our spike, that should put twice as much of the pull into this and only 1/3 of it over there. And then that blue line there to that rim is going to be our catch once this uprights.
Cool.
My only fear is the bus is going to get to its tipping point before that is past its pendulum point where they line up. So it might jerk over a little bit onto it. Oh, okay. Because I'm so far this way.
The lines across?
No, just the pivot point of the bus and the pivot point of the line are going to do this. If they pass their straight point before it tries to tip, I've got it. If they're still on this side when it starts to tip, the line will go slack and then catch tight. Okay. I think that's what's going to happen because I'm so far away from the bus over here, but in a real life scenario, this is where I'd be, far away from it. So yeah, because it's going to be over in the ditch, you know. Yeah. So let's go stand on the other side. I think we'll be able to watch better, not be in a danger zone. We ready to see how this goes?
Yep.
What's your predictions? Did I got it right or I got it wrong?
We'll find out when it's done.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to want to pull in with our lift and spike line first. And then we're going to just try to keep that blue catch line as tight as we can. So far my truck is not tipped over and that boom didn't move to the side much at all. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep that catch tight because I know it's going to snap over on me. But I don't want to keep it too tight where it tries lifting the bus off the ground and causes it to slide. It is going to jerk on that one, I think, because we're right at the tipping point almost, and you see the line from our hinge point down here to our hinge point in the middle to up there.
Yeah.
We're even a little bit this way still. Well, I want it to get past that, so it is. I'm a little too far that way, but I think it's going to snap into it, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. So we'll
see. Now you can tighten that. Yellow. Not 100% gentle, but
no, much better than just letting it fall, I guess. The only problem I saw with that, other than it's kind of jerk right there, if I was another 3 feet that way, it wouldn't have been an issue.
because
but my
still would have had the angle.
My rim sling sliced through the fender right there, and since that's fiberglass, or even if it was steel, luckily it hit where the protector was. But you could see that if that sliced the line when it did that.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to catch all that weight at the same time, it could shear this line. So
if you were over here more.
If I was over here more, I'd be putting a bigger side load on the truck, but I think it would handle it with the way we're spiking this.
Well, you're pretty dead center here.
Yeah. So I think if I was spaced over about 3 feet, I would have been right here with this line and I would have missed that fender, which would be ideal not to damage the fender even though the vehicle's already rolled. But the bigger danger is if it did something and sliced this line when it did that, and then I'd lose it. And then stuff's gonna start going who knows which way.
So there's no way you can put an extension on here with a hook?
You can run it through and back out this side.
Yeah,
and then
you're still gonna have this.
Yeah, but then all of it comes up right here, not coming up in the center right here. So
until the vehicle starts over.
Yeah. Well,
unless you're 3 feet up.
Well, what I'm saying is if we went around this spoke and came back out and up, our whole rope would be right here instead of the inside of it being way over here. So that'd give us another foot of space.
Yeah.
So that's something to do for next time, is maybe try looping the spoke and back out, and then setting up a little bit farther over. But it kind of worked.
Yeah, it stopped it from doing the slam like when you did over there.
It wouldn't have continued all the way over and flopped on the other side, which is the fear of letting them fall. It definitely wouldn't have done that, and I think I could have stayed a little tighter on it as I was bringing it up, and that might have helped. But being myself offset,
if you lined your boom up, nothing else, right with the side of it.
Yeah.
So that when this one came up, it's right under the boom.
Yeah. Ideally, I think the boom should be here.
Yeah.
Just to the, and then if we looped through the spoke and back out and had the boom over here.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I think we'd be okay. The other thing is by spinning it from the end like this, we have all of that back there twisted on it uncontrolled, and that's what spun that side up like it did, was all of that coming over. But yeah, ideally you'd have another truck back there to help set that end down and would stop that, but a single truck, single lane rollover, lifting, spiking, and catching all in one with only 2 winches, I don't think that was too bad. I definitely think you could perfect on this a little bit and do it better and smoother.
Well, here again, I think if you go through here, like you say, that gives you your pool clear out here.
Yep.
And as that gonna mess with the...
No, I think it'll be fine as far as all our clearances up there. You know what that means though?
What?
We get to practice more. So we use the rollback to flip the bus back over. We're gonna do this again. I realized if I set off that much farther, it was just gonna make that angle coming into catch even worse because I'm gonna be over here more, so it's even more of a snap. So what I did was, well, one, this moved over like another 6-8 inches when I rolled it over. Two, I did like we talked about and looped that rim sling back through the spoke so the whole sling is coming out the outside of the tire. That's actually going to help our angle because our center pivot point is going to be over that much farther. We'll see how much of a difference that makes, because I should have done that from the beginning. That was a mistake, a good size mistake on my part to do that. The other fix there is just use a piece of chain instead, but we're going to use that rim sling just the same. I do have a camera down there on the ground that's looking straight up at the boom to see how much boom sway we actually get out of this. And then I got the 360 cam over there on those snatch blocks. And we're gonna see how this does. So we're gonna tension up on our spike and our lift. And we're going to just keep that catch line as tight as we can. Obviously it's gonna move much faster than our spike and lift line because there's no snatch blocks in it. So now we're getting that roll started. The bus is bit in. Be interesting to see on that other camera how much the boom moved over. So I want to keep this one right there, but if I go too much tighter on that catch, then these lines are fighting each other. And one, you're adding strain to the system. Two, you risk, oop, that's too much. Come on, set right in there. That made a hell of a difference. That was so much smoother. And now let's pull this back tight, see where we were. So we were still just in the line of the fender. The thing I could do is use a chain for that part instead. And we're gonna damage the fender on what we're rolling, but let's be real, whatever rolled is damaged anyway. Although I don't want to cause unnecessary damage, but it would stop from tearing into this or slicing a sling right here. So in actual recovery, we're doing that. I think I'd use a chain from here to the rim, but just moving it that outside, like I said before, that other one was coming from way in there. So yeah, I don't know what I was thinking doing that, because I know to go out through there moves everything out. So I would almost kind of imagine if this already wasn't here, which granted this slice was here from when I flipped it over like a month ago and dug right through to do it, but I kind of almost think if it wasn't, that might have just pushed into this and just pushed it over and not even torn it. Torn it, broke it, maybe, just bend it a little. So either way, I think I'm really happy with how that one went. Just that one little change made a massive difference in that. And I could probably even get smoother than that if I practice some. Oh, and before I slack this off, I just want you to see that as everything came over, that the line that was the closest to our underreach there moved away from it, not closer to it. So nothing touched, nothing rubbed. Clearance and all our sheave heads up there. That went really, really well. So now that I've rigged this up twice, I would be pretty confident that in an actual job on the side of the road, I could rig that whole setup up in 10-15 minutes by myself, and that whole time the other lane would be able to remain open for one-way traffic control and not completely shut down the road. We'd only have to like fully close the road for the 1 or 2 minutes it takes to actually stand it up. Once we got it stood up, the traffic could resume again in the other lane, and I just pull forward, bring my underreach down, hook up to it, and can drive off, you know, after I put stuff away. So I don't think that's too bad at all for a vehicle that big. For a single lane, inline, 1 lane rollover with the lift, spike, and catch with the detachable towing unit. There ain't another one out there that can do that other than the Genesis. So I think that's really cool. And in kind of tradition in the towing world is when someone comes up with a new method or a new idea, either they get to name it or that method gets named after them. So for this one, with that in mind, I think what I'm going to call it is the whoever came up with it first idea, because I highly doubt I'm the first person to do that. And if by some miracle I am, it doesn't really matter anyway, because I'm sure there's some training company out there that will call it their own and charge people a whole bunch of money to teach it to them. So either way, I'm going to put this away. We'll see you next time.